If you're looking to hit the most topspin that you've ever hit in your life, then this is the video for you. Ian, Ira, and I are going to give you 3 awesome tips so that you can increase your forehand topspin today. Stick around to the end of the video because it's there that I will tell you exactly where you can access our free gift so that you can have a practice plan and hit more topspin the very next time that you're on court. For now, let's get straight down to business and teach you how to hit with more spin. I want to kickstart this forehand topspin lesson by dispelling some myths that we frequently hear from our students. A lot of times we hear to cover the ball or turn over the racket, and it's just physically not possible on contact. The reality of this situation is that our contact point lasts for such a small amount of time that we're not physically capable of handling the ball and manipulating the ball with our strings during that time. The actual time that the ball makes contact with the racket is between 2 and 4 thousandths of a second. So I don't know about you, but I know that I don't have control physically of doing anything for that long. So if you look at a guy like Federer, you see that 9 times out of 10, his racket is perpendicular to the court when he hits this forehand. It's not shifted at all. And when it is, sometimes we do see a certain turning over of the racket, but that's only if we look closer. It's only because the ball has been mishit, it's off center. So when it's on the middle of our strings, we really do want to make sure that it's right up and down on contact and it's not shifted over and it's not too open. Otherwise, we're going to mishit the ball. If we don't make clean contact, then the racket is naturally going to be less stable and shift around in our hand. So now I've told you about how not to generate topspin, and Ira's going to explain to you the swing path for how to generate topspin.
It's very important in order to understand how topspin is created to talk about the actual swing direction. And what I mean by that is some players have a very horizontal swing. You look at players like Del Potro, for example, who swings very straight through. Now, I'm not saying it's perfectly straight, but has a very low trajectory during the course of his swing. You look at other guys like Rafael Nadal, for example, who have a very vertical type swing path, meaning the racket comes from low to high at a very rapid pace. And what we're going to talk about today is figuring out which is best to create topspin. Obviously, if you're hitting a flat forehand, your racket wants to drop slightly below contact, come up to contact just a little bit, and then continue forward. Oftentimes, the direction of the ball will greatly be determined by what you're doing before contact and after contact. So in order to get topspin, what you want to do is drop your racket beneath contact before you hit the ball. Bring it up to contact using your arm from the shoulder up, meet contact, and then continue going upwards to the finish of your swing. The more vertical the swing, the more potential you have for topspin.
So Ira just described the overall path of the racket and how that leads to putting topspin on your forehand. And that's really the most important starting point where you should begin learning how to hit topspin. But once you've really mastered that and you're ready to take things to the next level, a mechanic that the pros use to create huge amounts of topspin is using the rotation of their shoulder and their forearm to create huge amounts of vertical acceleration. And the way I like to describe this to my students is to have them hold the racket in a normal forehand grip and put their arms straight out in front of them. This might not be the position you actually hit your forehand from, but this is just kind of a demonstration to get a feel for this movement. And then from here, I ask my students to keep their arm totally straight and rotate the racket around, back and forth in a half circle. And so what we're doing here is rotating the shoulder and the forearm in one direction and then the other. So this isn't like hand or wrist, it's the arm and shoulder as a whole rotating back and forth. And when you watch super slow motion video of the pros, you'll see them go from their initial setup position to loading, rotating back in one direction to lay the racket back. Frequently, you'll see the tip of the racket pointed down towards the court surface, and then they hold that and release it upwards into the point of contact. And so I like to have students practice just isolating that movement, and you can do this at home by grabbing a basket of balls. Start with the tip of the racket pointed down towards the court surface, drop a ball in front of you, and then it's really hard to just do this motion, but do your best to try to just isolate that movement and just rotate the racket in a circle, about a half circle or so, up past contact and around in a circular path. Now, of course, this isn't the only motion that we want to use. Again, what Ira talked about, the overall path of the racket, is really most fundamentally important. But if you add a little bit of this on top of an overall vertical path, then you'll really start to see big topspin, big arc in your shots, and a big bounce up over on the other side of the court.
After watching these tips, you're well on your way to adding way more RPMs to your forehand. But we've got one more thing for you. I want to send you home with a gift, because watching is just not the same as doing. So we want you to go out there and practice this with our forehand topspin action plan. All you have to do is click the link in the description down below, and you will get our plan right to your inbox within minutes. It's going to give you a step-by-step, minute-to-minute guide of exactly how you should break down your practice the very next time that you're on court. We're not going to be there, so we want you to have the very next best thing. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and it was helpful, give us a like. Make sure you comment on this video if it helps you, especially after you download that action plan. And subscribe to never miss a single lesson from our channel. Thanks again, guys. We will see you in the next video, ET fam.